like losing a family member.
No, I get it. All right. Hey, Fish, we have a loaded show. We explore the Gruden controversy from all angles. We will talk with our special guest, Jeff Ray, a lawyer and Vegas resident who played college hoops at Kentucky and Niagara. He's also the son of John Ray, the defensive coordinator for Notre Dame legend Ara Parsigian. Now, Gruden and Raiders are also going to be on the discussion with our weekly betting expert, John Hardison. Plus, John will have his hardline picks for the week. We will also talk about the Red Sox shocking takedown of the Rays and what it says. The Red Sox will play the Astros, who clinched today, and there are more cheating accusations against the Astros. Plus, hockey starts for real tonight. It's already started. Plus, our Schmuck of the Week has some directional and eyesight problems, and who's got the swag? Well, he might keep the superhero population down. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Daily Fish. John Daly here, along with Eric Snyder, a.k.a. Fish. We are coast to coast coming to you from Las Vegas and Myrtle Beach. You didn't know that was coming, did you? We talk sports, entertainment, and everything in between. Fish, we got to jump right into the grind, unless you want to talk about the Who's Got Swag now.
No.
Okay, good. All right, let's jump right into it. All right, you are my Raiders insider. Give me your take on what transpired over the past 48 hours for Raider Nation.
Well, I'll tell you what transpired for the last 48 hours, and I'll tell you something that is very concerning to me. This is our 25th show. Thank you for doing this. I mean, getting you involved in this has been just a joy in my life and the most fun. And I think we're heading towards a really good future. 2 episodes, I've had boogers in my nose, and people have said that to me finally. If I have a booger in my nose, exactly. You got to tell me. There's got to be some kind of a I love you or do this. I mean, if you did, I would tell you. But since you have a wardrobe person on staff that sits there and probably plucks you when they're not looking at me, you got to help me out. Well, let's go to the Raiders now. I just help a guy out. Help an old man out. 61 years old, and I go for a stress test yesterday because I have issues, heart. So right before I walk into the office there, I get a text saying from a good source of mine, Gruden is telling his staff right now that he's resigning. So now they got to take my blood pressure, goes up, right? They wait for my blood pressure to go down. I'm doing a stress test, and it doesn't help that the girl, the nurse that's monitoring this, is drop dead gorgeous. So I said, for guy 61, what is the record for being on a stress test? She goes 12 minutes and 48 seconds on the stress test. Okay. I did 14 minutes. Okay. All right. And then I walk out of there, and the literal shit hit the fan with Gruden. And I'm shell-shocked over this because there's so much to talk about. And I knew that, I covered the Raiders from 98 to 2002, and he was a young ingenue as a coach and a great guy. And then all this stuff comes out, and it's almost like it's a family member that this can't happen. It's a Lifetime movie. You find out that, a woman's married to a guy that goes off to Iraq, and you find out that he's got 7 wives over there. How can this happen? So I'm shell-shocked by it. All the information that I've gotten, there's a lot to talk about with our guys. I just have I have one thing. You got to be accountable for what you say. And if you hurt people, okay, you got to be accountable for it. And there's gay people, there's women, there's African Americans, there's people that wanted to kneel that were attacked in these emails, all because of an investigation for the Washington football team. Okay, I'm not defending John Gruden in any way, but I'm saying that only this could happen to a team that in the last 18 years has had 1 year that's winning, and now we're on the verge as a I look at the Shield, I look at the Raiders, I look at everything I have in this room is Raiders. I look at the future of the team and how to build the brand, okay? And the fact that we might have to rebuild again is just I can't get it through my mind.
Well, the Raiders came out sluggish on Sunday. You told me that. You saw that. Do you think the team knew this was coming, or they had an idea?
I'm going to quote Randy Moss, who said he talked to a couple Raider players, and he kind of intimated one might have been Darren Waller. Don't quote me on that. And said there's a quote. He said, Randy, there's a lot of SHIT, a lot of shit going on. What that meant. And my son was at the game, and it's the first time in 40 years I turned down tickets to a Raider game because of my health. Yep. But I'm watching the game, and I said, sounds like there's no one there. He goes, well, Dad, there's 30,000 Bear fans, but he goes, there's no energy on the Raiders sideline, and you saw it on the field. Anyone who watched that game saw there's no energy. And you wonder, I'm only intimating and only speculating that Davis knew about it and some of the players knew what was going down and they were going through the motions. I don't want to sit there and say that for a fact because you have to sit there and hope that your team is playing their hearts out for themselves, the pride and the shield. And the Raiders have never quit for John Gruden. I know that. But yes, if you ask me the question, do I think they might have known about it? Yes.
Okay. Rich Bisaccia is now the Raiders interim head coach. He was a special teams coach. As I think about things and I think about all the stuff you talked to me about, I'm thinking this might actually be a good sign for the Raiders going forward. And maybe it's going to be a little bit down the line. They're still 3-2. They still have a chance. What are you thinking?
Rich Bisaccia is a special teams coach that's very, very well liked, and he's revered in this league. I'll give you three names: John Harbaugh of the Ravens, Sean McVay of the Rams, and Sean McDermott of the Buffalo Bills have all been special teams coaches that have elevated up. He's ready to become a head coach. He's assistant head coach of the Raiders. It makes sense. Keep Gus Bradley running defense. Tom Cable has head coaching experience. That's a rebuilt offensive line. It makes sense. You would hope that the pride of the team would come out and say, you know what? Here we go. I just mentioned before, 18 years of dysfunction, and now we're getting slapped in the face again. Let's go out and show some heart and beat the crap out of the Broncos. I do think that John Gruden was not a great coach this year. We got the slow. We're 3-2, but we got the slow starts in every game. John, you watch like I do. So yeah, I think there's a good chance they go out and they play with a lot of pride.
All right, we're going to talk more Raiders and something fishy, and also on the hard line with John Hardison in just a few minutes. Now, despite the Gruden controversy, another great weekend in the NFL. Three things that I noticed, Fish. First, the Browns pushed the Chargers running back into the end zone to let him score so they could get the ball back sooner. Have you ever seen that?
It's great. Great move by Kevin Stefanski. That was phenomenal. I'm watching the game. I got that game opposite the Raider game, and that was a great game. It's just, if you score 41 points in a game, you have a 94% chance of winning. So that just shows you how good the Chargers are. But for them to do that, to get a chance to get the ball back, well, I don't get all the criticism. I think Baker Mayfield had a great game. Why is he getting criticized? You're right. He stunk. You said in our tease the other day, Monday, that they won 14-7 against the Vikings the week before, and he was horrible. He's not the problem. He's a good young quarterback. Great game.
All right. And second, what I noticed, what's up with going for it on fourth down in your own territory? Now, the Chargers, they seem to do it successfully. The 49ers don't. What's your take on this?
It's just, you know what it is? It's gambling. It's a gamble. And if you do it, you're showing your team. Brandon Daly, the coach of the Chargers, is telling his offense, I believe in you so much that if we're 4th and 1 or 2 in our own 28, I have enough confidence in you to get it, and that does a lot. That means a lot in that locker room. I like it.
All right, and third of what's happening, the NFL's choking kickers. Oh, my God. How many not only botched field goals, but botched extra points?
Yeah, I just got a text, seriously, just a second, from the Indianapolis Colts. They saw the results of my stress test, and I'm flying out there. They want to sign me as a kicker because Vigo Blankenship missed kicks. I cannot believe that Green Bay, John, we're talking that Green Bay Cincinnati game. Mason Crosby missed 3 kicks. We're gonna have a guy on later in the show that thought the kick was good, but I mean I've never seen more kicks missed in a weekend, and it adds more drama to the game.
Yeah, it really does. All right, let's go to our picks. Here's something really fishy though. First, before I went 4-1 last week.
You did it.
You were 3-2. I guess I'm listening really hard to Hardline Hardison, and that's why I'm doing so well. All right, let's get into this week's picks. First of all,
wait, John, I'm gonna before we toast our swag, I'm gonna toast you on that. Way to go, buddy, because you had a couple of 1 and 4s and you really kicked ass. Good job. Congrats.
That's
buddy.
What happens. That's what happens when you flip a coin. All right, let's get into our picks. First of all, Chargers at the Ravens. I'm going Ravens.
I'm taking Chargers.
Okay. Packers at the Bears. Who you picking?
I'm going to go with the Bears. No one's going to pick the Bears. I want to go against you, so I'm going to go with the Bears. I think their defense is ranked 9th. I'll ask Hardison this, but I mean, if they're going to shut down Aaron Jones in the running game, of course, when it's always Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to go with the Bears.
Okay, I got the Pack. Cardinals at the Browns. I'm going Browns.
I'm going Cardinals.
Okay. I just think at some point the Cardinals are gonna lose, and the Browns after last week, of course, the Browns could be tired too. All right, Raiders at the Broncos. Who you got?
You go first.
I'm going Broncos.
I'm going Raiders. Why not? I'm a homer, but I think if they want to prove something to everyone, if I'll tell you what, if they go out and lay a stinker like they did and lose 37-0, it's a long season.
All right. Are you a Homer Simpson? No, you're just a homer. Okay. Bills at the Titans. I am big on the Bills. Who you going with?
I'm going with the Bills too. I agree with you on that one. That 38-20 game against the Chiefs on Sunday night was a statement game for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, the fact, and we don't talk, the fact that we're going to talk, but the fact that the Chiefs are 2-3 and their defense is ranked 28th, very, 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 very big story in the NFL.
Okay, we're going to have picks from Hardison coming up in just a little bit on the hard line. All right, next. The Red Sox eliminate the Tampa Bay Rays in 4 games. The turning point was this play in Game 3.
Diaz runs. Kiermaier sends a ball into right center field. That's trouble. And that one's off the base of the wall. Diaz coming around to score. Kiermaier to third. The Rays have taken the lead.
They're saying that's going to be a double.
And there it is. So now the play was ruled a ground rule double, even though Hunter Renfroe knocked it off his leg. You just saw that he knocked it into the bullpen. That sent the runner on first back to third, even though he would have easily scored from first. The ruling says as long as the player accidentally knocked it over the fence, then it's considered a ground rule double. The Red Sox got the next out, ending the inning, and then they beat the Rays in the next half inning on a Christian Vasquez home run. The question I asked was, should that be changed? At first I said yes, but then I think that there was no intent to do that, so I'm saying keep it. Yet at the same time, too, a Red Sox fan, I still felt bad for the Rays because they, another half inch, they probably would have won that game. What do you think?
If I had another half inch, I'd be a porno star. But no, you know what? Come on. They feel bad for the Rays. What I tell you, I told you, I talk to you every day. I said, the Rays can't put people in their stadium. To hell with them. The Red Sox are an iconic, great team in the history of sports. And the fact that they won, I'm happy for it. And the fact they're going to play the Astros, phenomenal LCS. No, keep it the way it is. I thought the same thing you did, but you know what? Keep the rule the way it is.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, last night's Game 4 was another barn burner. It ends in the bottom of the ninth with Kike Hernandez delivering a sacrifice fly for the winning run. He had a great series, great drama, but there was some amateur baseball by the Sox in the outfield in the 8th that allowed the Rays to tie the game. It was absolutely horrible defense. And then the Rays infield folding horribly to allow Kike's sacrifice fly. And then Rays manager Kevin Cash didn't load the bases to create a force play to get a double play to end the rally. Instead, they pitched to Kike. Unbelievable. Fish, what was your take on that?
Look, my thing is you were facing a Red Sox team that had 50. They got shut out in the first game, right?
Yeah.
56 hits in 4 games. That's huge. It's averaging 13, 14 hits a game. Doesn't matter what Kevin Cash does. You got hot bats between Vasquez and Hernandez, and this Red Sox team is doing what you wanted to do as your team. They're getting hot and peaking at the right time. It didn't matter what Tampa was going to do. The Red Sox are going to win. And I'm going to predict it now. When you're going to get into that Tampa doesn't deserve the Rays, if we could jump over that one, they don't. Okay? But I'm predicting that Boston goes to the World Series.
Okay. So just talk briefly again, because you've touched on this a couple of times, that the fact that Tampa, the fans don't deserve this team there because they don't show up.
It's horseshit. They don't show up. I'm watching the Lightning against the Penguins start out. They don't expect the full house to do the banner. I mean, the only thing they sell out for is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I get it. They won the Super Bowl. But the Lightning are a great team. This Randy Arozarena is one of the greatest players in baseball, and he's going to be a free agent soon. I don't know when the contract's up. I'm probably wrong. But they're going to lose him. For some reason, that market doesn't support baseball. And you and I said there's a lot of markets that want it, like San Antonio, Sacramento, Las Vegas will do a baseball team. If baseball is having problems with just being a regional game and getting some ratings, let's at least show stadiums that are full. There's 6,000 fans in Oakland, 6,000, and they're a good team. Come on, I don't want to talk about it. It's for a guy who loves baseball like I do, it's embarrassing.
I got you. All right. Now the Red Sox are going to face the Astros, who took Game 4 today from the Chicago White Sox. After Game 3, though, White Sox reliever Ryan Tepera accused the Astros of cheating again. There's only some circumstantial evidence of the Astros hitting well in Houston and not in Chicago. But Fish, if this is true, I don't think it is yet. What does the MLB do with the Astros?
Well, I'm a little too far on that. I mean, you asked me that. We talked about that again off the record. And I said, you got to pull the SMU death rule. What are you going to do? You can't. First of all, Rob Manfred, when it came out that Houston cheated in the World Series against the Dodgers, Altuve and Springer at the time was on the team. They all admitted to doing it. He wouldn't suspend any of these guys because he said, quote, if we suspend all these guys, takes away from the team, they're not going to be able to field the team. That, again, is bullshit. Who cares? They cheated. Get guys from AAA to play. If this happened again and it's true, you've got to take that team out for a year and put out guys on other teams and suspend the guys that did it. Because if you keep slapping them in the hand and finding them, they're not learning. It's like when a guy gets, 5 traffic violations and his dad pays the tickets because he knows the sheriff, he's going to do it again.
Okay. And again, there's no evidence yet. We're just bringing this up as a hypothetical. And finally, on the grind, the National Hockey League season has started. The Penguins are playing the Stanley Cup champs, the Lightning, as Fish just said. The expansion Kraken is in Vegas with you, Fish. Any predictions for the season?
Yeah. I don't think there's a drop-off with the Golden Knights. I know they got rid of Marc-Andre Fleury and have Robin Leonard at goalie. I predict them to win the West. The West stinks. Arizona went from the West to the Central Division. But real quick, I'm going to give you – I think that the MVP is going to be Connor McDavid of the Edmonton Oilers. I think the guy's terrific. And I like the New York Islanders with Barry Trotz. He's the old coach of the Washington Capitals that beat Vegas a couple of years ago in the Stanley Cup. I like the Colorado Avalanche to play the New York I think Islanders in the Stanley Cup. I think that Nate McKinnon, forward for the Avalanche, one of the best players. I think he's one of the best players that come into this league and can be Gretzky-esque if injuries don't sideline this kid. Watch out for Tampa. Wait, hang on. Kucherov and Stamkos are just a dynamic duo in this league. So Tampa will do that also. So, but come on, bring it on. Bring on hockey.
There you go. All right. And that is Daily Grind. Questions or comments, folks, during the show, use the chat box here or email us at dailyfish1, the number 1, dailyfish1@gmail.com. You can post to Facebook at daily.fish.5. Also, stick around at the end of the show when we give you our binge watch suggestions. All right. Back to the Gruden resignation now. Is there something fishy here, Fish? A lot of folks are talking that this was a concerted effort to remove Gruden. Now, you're the Raiders insider. What do you say about that?
Well, there's 650,000 emails, and Stephen A. Smith, I'll quote him from ESPN, said there, and of course the breaking news just now that the NFLPA has asked the Washington football team in the league to show everyone those emails because, hate to use cliches, where there's smoke, there's fire, there's going to be other people implicated. I think the problem I have is that the NFL is an old boys league, so if there's something in there that's discriminating or desecrating against Daniel Snyder, they're going to try and cover it up, or Jerry Jones, or Robert Kraft. And Gruden did what he was wrong. He's got to be accountable for it. I'm not defending the guy, but he became the fall guy of a Washington football team investigation. Okay, I think Gruden had a hole in his boat hit by a torpedo, and as he's trying to fix the hole in the hole, more torpedoes were coming. I think he knew this. My big problem with the whole thing. How stupid are you? You're on emails. Everyone knows there's a cloud. Everyone knows that these devices, that the computer you're on, is meant to preserve things, not delete it. Okay, so you should be fired because you're dumb. And if the truth always comes out. If you're putting people down and you're saying horrible things about people, it's going to come out. And the chemistry of his players. Wait a minute, he's talking bad about our lips and our. And you have a gay guy on the team, Carl Nassib, all right? But then you're saying that the league. He said in an email that Roger Goodell shouldn't pressure Jeff Fisher to sign that queer. Use the word queer. He used pussy and faggots in his emails. It's just look. Some people say to me, "You're too hard on this whole thing," and that you know what? It's private and what people say to each other. But if people's true characters come out, that's another thing. I have a hard time because the John Gruden I know is not that guy.
Yeah.
But if you listen to what Keyshawn Johnson said and Simeon Rice, there's a certain piling on. Maybe they didn't like him as a coach because he was tough on them. But it's just a sad situation. Again, I'm going to repeat myself, for a team that's had so much dysfunction that they don't know where to go.
So let me ask you this, though. I mean, the conspiracy theorists are going to say, if nothing else comes out, it's just Gruden, that somebody was going after him. Maybe maybe Davis wanted to get out of that long contract. The team hasn't really been that great lately. What do you think about that, or is that just strictly conspiracy theory?
Conspiracy theory. Now, like I said, if you want to go back and look at everyone's emails you sent, you could probably find something. I'm upset with Davis because every team has a security division, and they pay a lot of money to go back and do extensive background checks. And I know if Mark Davis would have seen this, he wouldn't have hired him. And we're not talking about it right now, because there's no way if he found this out, he wouldn't say to himself, this is going to come out in the future and I'm going to look like an idiot. So no, it's conspiracy theorists that are out there that are going to say that. There are a lot of people too that are defending Gruden, saying this is bullshit and let him coach and what have you. You have a right to your opinion. All I know is this: whether you like the guy or defend him or not, if you're an NFL coach and your owner sees that he's losing that locker room, you got to go.
All right, let's talk real briefly about Gruden's future. I think he's done as a coach and TV commentator, but I think he's going to come back and compete against you and me. He will have a popular podcast because a lot of people are still fans of his, despite the controversy. What are you seeing?
Absolutely. You told me that this morning. I said, you got to sit down on the show. It sounds perfect. He has an ego. You just did. You're brilliant. Brilliant. He has an ego, and of course he's gonna, he might want to do the Jose Canseco's, method and write a book and say, hey, I'm taking guys down with me. I don't think that's his character. I don't think he's that kind of person. I think that what's killing him the most, John Gruden, is he loves to coach. He's the first guy at 4:00 in the morning, John, in that building, and the last guy to leave. And he loves coaching people and coaching young players. And that was taken away from him. And that's going to be the biggest problem he's going to face.
Yep, I agree. All right, let's go to the Daily Fish Hardline. John Hardison has the podcast, The Cost of Winning, focusing on betting and fantasy sports. John, welcome back. Hey, let's continue the discussion and get your take on what went down in Raider Nation with John Gruden. What are you thinking?
So I'll start with Friday, when everything kind of came out initially, when the initial report came out. And when they told me when exactly he made these comments, the first thing I asked was, could ESPN do anything? And I didn't think so, because he wasn't an employee anymore. Yes, he's working for the NFL, but he didn't make these comments there and there. I really thought with that just comment that he made about DeMaurice Smith, how visceral it was, how negative it was, that they would fine him and suspend him a game. Over the weekend, as these 650K emails started to come out, it became more and more prevalent that there's no way that he could possibly retain his job in the NFL, especially if you look at the marketing demographics of the NFL, where they're going more towards women. That's a big aspect of them, and a younger generation as well. You can't have this type of conversation going on. There's a few things, especially in regards to those emails, that were deplorable, disgusting. And if you're the NFL, when you own a day of the week and you have optics constantly looking at you, you can't have this around you at all. This is a guy that, as Fish pointed out, the fact that he said that Eric Reed should be fired for protesting, that he shouldn't have his job, and the fact that he said that Jeff Fisher, a buddy of his, was pressured into drafting Michael Sam, who was at the time the SEC Defensive Player of the Year, in the 7th round because he was a queer.
My problem is, we're friends. You cut my wrist, John's wrist, and your wrist. We all bleed red. That's how I was raised, okay? But we have not lived the life in your skin as an African American. And when you hear this, a guy of power, and you hear there's more emails like this, don't you think that the main thing is, as you're an owner of a football team, is to save the chemistry of your locker room? Besides the deplorable things that he's saying about a race and people's lips. I mean, especially when more white women are going out and getting collagen in their lips to look as beautiful as you. Serious. They are, because it's there's no better beautiful person in the world than Halle Berry. And there's a lot of black women on my resume. Don't tell my wife. But, so I'm not making light of it. I'm just saying, living in your skin, John, and I want enough's enough that that it has to be exposed. If you say something about somebody, you have to be accountable. You cannot be mean. I've always said, be kind. You can be funny, but be kind.
Oh, absolutely. I think just looking at the way everything went, and you go back to those emails, and the fact that they said that there's even more coming out, and I'll be honest with you, Fish, this relationship was doomed from the beginning. When John Gruden was hired by Mark Davis, they circumvented the Rooney Rule, starting off first and foremost, where you have to interview minority head coaches. They circumvented that and hired him without giving anyone else a fair chance at getting an interview when they hired John Gruden. So let's start with that aspect right there. There has to be accountability from the top down. So Mark Davis is going to be held accountable for this. Mike Mayhock is going to be held accountable for this. John Gruden is going to be held accountable for this. And this is a teaching lesson for everyone as well about what you say and what you don't say and how it comes back to you. You could think it's all just and fun, but there's a lot of people in this situation, especially Bruce Allen, the man that's over the Washington football team, the man that shares an office right next door to Doug Williams, who was the first African-American to win a Super Bowl. For him to say these things and to think that it's a joke and send them from a company email means that they don't care. They don't care exactly what they say. They don't care about how it affects other people. They only care the fact that they got caught. And at the end of the day, looking at what happened with Bruce Allen, looking at what happened with John Gruden, there is no way that you can hire these individuals back without blowback coming to your organization. And I don't even think organizations want to deal with this. When you talk about Bruce Allen and everything that happened with the Washington football team and the fact that you're looking at the Raiders and they somewhat mirror each other, the Washington football team just went through a misconduct situation before this one that just came up with the cheerleaders. What did John Gruden and Bruce Allen do? They sent nude pictures of a woman back and forth talking about good going. Congratulations. You're making disparaging comments about men, women, gays, African Americans, and you think that you're going to go out there on a Sunday and lead these men, an organization that's more than 70% African American, and think that we're going to be cool, we're going to
we kind of lost a little bit.
You're freezing up a little bit, John.
Freeze up a little bit, John. But real quick, before we get to your picks, we'll try and fix your audio. I just got a picture sent to me by the Raider organization. They're having a press conference right now, and this is the Raider organization having the press conference. All right,
John.
I just want to
my makeup artist.
Put a quick note out there real quick for you, though. I just got word that they have removed John Gruden from the Ring of Honor in Tampa Bay.
Yep.
Yeah.
We just heard that too. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, John, let's go to the hardline picks first. College football. Number 1, Georgia now plays number 11, Kentucky. Who you taking?
You know what? I'm taking Kentucky plus 22.5. Kentucky has been a solid team the last few weeks. They've gotten some impressive wins. I like Georgia. I think that Georgia's going to win, but I don't think that they're going to cover at 22.5.
Number 17, Arkansas. What a game that was against Ole Miss. Wow, going for 2 at the end. I love that call. They're at home to Auburn. What do you got?
So Arkansas is actually a really interesting team this year, a team that's kind of come out of nowhere the past couple of years and has just started to make a name for themselves in the SEC. They've beaten Georgia. They've beaten Ole Miss. And they have a win against Texas A&M, who last week just beat the number 1 team in the nation, Alabama. I think they're a solid program. I think they finally got the right head coach. I'm taking Arkansas this week.
What's the points on that?
I'm taking them at 3.5. 3.5.
3.5.
Minus 3.5.
Okay. All right. Number 19, BYU, coming off a loss to Boise State. They go to Baylor. What are you seeing here?
So I like them. I'm taking a money line, actually. I'm not even taking the points against Baylor. Looking at Baylor, I don't think that Baylor's the same Baylor that we're used to, that high-flying offense. They're a little bit more conservative. I like how BYU manages to run the ball. I like how consistent they are. They're going to eat clock. And I think that them and their team, especially with how well they travel, I think they get to win in Texas.
All right, NFL. Wow, last night Colts blow a 19-point lead. How do they rebound from that? They're home to the Texans. I mean, give it to me.
Well, I mean, look, the Texans aren't that great of a team right now. They looked a little bit better last Sunday than they normally are. I'm taking the Colts on the money line instead of the 9.5 points, and that's only because they played Monday night. Tuesday, they probably get a little bit of rest, so they're missing a day of practice. But the good part is that they're at home. And so because of that, I think they get the win. Jonathan Taylor is finally starting to really come into his own more. It seems Carson Wentz looks a little bit more comfortable in that offense. And I like that defense. I mean, they held their own up until really the middle of the third quarter yesterday. So I'm definitely saying the Baltimore Ravens are a much better team than the Texans. I'm taking Indiana.
All right. The Chiefs go to D.C. after a tough loss to the Bills. What do you have for the Chiefs?
I think this is a get-right game. I'm taking the Chiefs. I'm taking them -7. I think that they're the better team than Washington. Washington has quite a bit of questions going on right now, especially with their team, especially what just happened with Bruce Allen, a couple other things that's going on right now. I just think even without Clyde Edwards-Helaire, if he does or does not play this week, I just think the Chiefs are a much better team overall. They're a much more comprehensive team on offense.
Yeah, if the Bengals could kick a field goal, they're going to beat the Lions because the Lions are just – I've never seen a bigger tough luck team than that. That's unreal. And they go. The Bengals play the Lions. Let me hear it.
You know, I'm taking the Bengals. I'm taking the Bengals -3.5 and on the money line. I love my Lions, but just last week watching them, when they went up with those last about 50 seconds left, I was super excited, but I kept saying this is going to be such a Lions way to lose. And they never disappoint. They just ended up losing. I like the Bengals. I like how aggressive they are. Looking at how Joe Burrow is, you got T. Higgins, you got Tyler Boyd, you got Jamar Chase, who had a phenomenal game against the Green Bay Packers on Sunday, a game that I really was expecting out of them and how close they kept it. And like you said, Fish, if they could kick a field goal, the game would have been over with. They would have won. But, you know, luck was not on their side. I'm taking the Bengals on the road.
Okay. Do you cry like the coach does too?
You know, if you've gotten your heart broken enough times by the same girl, you can't cry anymore. There's no more tears to shed.
And that is the Daily Fish Hardline with John Hardison of the Cost of Winning podcast. You can find him here with us, also on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcast as well. John, thanks for that, and thanks for the insight on the Gruden situation as well. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
All right. I think we lost his audio there. All right. Hey, thanks for tuning in, folks. Again, Daily Fish is live on Facebook Tuesdays at 8 p.m. and 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We are on DBNA television on Roku, Amazon Fire, soon Apple TV. We stream 24/7 on the DBNA television website. You can catch us on the Myrtle Beach Golf Channel as well, and follow us and like us on Facebook at daily.fish.5, and you can subscribe on YouTube. All right. Time now for our Schmuck of the Week. Who's been Schmucky this week, Fish?
This would be great. Well, we've been talking about field goal kickers, right? Well, let's find a guy that I guess he was smoking too much ganja, because take a look at this reaction. Bengals kicker Evan McPherson.
Now let's take a look. Keep an eye on the flag on top, Jonathan. It hits the flag. McPherson thought he made it, right?
It hit the flag.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I lost you. We lost internet here for a couple seconds. I didn't hear what you said, but we got you back.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Yeah. No. And that was, I actually watched that. And obviously he needs a little help and direction, because he clearly hit the flag, or else he needs glasses. So,
yeah, he does.
All right. Who's got swag this week? Who are we toasting, Fish?
I love this. Check out this picture. Okay. Now, we all grew up loving Superman. Jeff Ray, you're in the queue. Watch this. This is Superman's son. And look what he has turned into. And we got to give him swag, because we are now a transgender. We love everyone, but this is Don. That's it. That's Don Kent. And that's his boyfriend, Adam. And now Superman has a kid that's bisexual. I mean, I imagine that Lois Lane was the mother of that kid, and I think it's great. You know what? We love everybody here at Daily Fish. If the next Superman is going to be, have a guy and a girl, think about if we do the porno film and the threesomes we could have, and who can cast that.
Well,
No?
it's a script. I guess it's a script for us to write. Okay, now we got to toast our swag of the week with our drink of the week. What are we sipping, Fish?
This is the kryptonite for Superman. All right.
Perfect.
I got a Bacardi here. I got a spice rum, Captain Morgan. I have a little pineapple juice. I have a little melon liqueur, and I added just a little bit of pink lemonade that I make it over at Chuck's. So, yeah.
Very good. I love the combination of the two rums.
Yeah, me too.
Here's at you to Superman and all the rest of the folks out there. All right. Daily Fish Drink of the Week is sponsored by Schmuck's Tavern in Vegas. Great seafood and drinks in 2 locations. Head to Schmuck's Tavern on North Durango on the northwest side of town where Fish is overnight. And all you got to do is say Daily Fish Podcast. You get a free drink. Do it the next day, a free appetizer. That's Schmuck's Tavern. Check out Schmuck's Tavern on Facebook. All right, we're just getting started. Up next, we're going to gab with Jeff Ray. He is living in Las Vegas. He played hoops at Niagara and Kentucky. Plus, he is a lawyer with plenty of perspective on sports, especially college football and the media, and also what's going on here today. But first, let's tell you about MedSonics in Vegas. And if you're in pain, go to MedSonics. The sound wave technology relieves pain. It is non-invasive. You sit there for 25 minutes and relax. I've used it many times. It works. Plus, it helps with jet lag as well. The technology will soon be all over the country. Go to medsonics.com. That's spelled MEDSONIX. Medsonics.com. Al is the owner, inventor. Tell him Daily Fish sent you there. All right, let's bring in our guest. Jeff Ray is a lawyer now living in Las Vegas. He played hoops at Niagara in Kentucky. His dad, Johnny Ray, was a head football coach and also the defensive assistant for the legendary Ara Parsegian at Notre Dame. Jeff is also married to my co-anchor partner in Vegas, Kathy Ray, who will be on a future show with us. Plus, Jeff has some great insight into college and pro sports. Jeff, first of all, welcome to Daily Fish.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Fish, I got to tell you, you probably don't know this. Before I was a lawyer, I was in the restaurant business, and I actually was a bartender. So, and I think back, John, on those days, a lot less stress. Maybe I should have stayed in that business. I
don't know about the stress, but
yeah, Fish has got stress tests now, and he's a bartender now. So you can imagine
I'm not bartending. I'm going to fly to Indianapolis and become a kicker.
There you go.
You just made though. Really, I'll have to get the ingredients from you after the show.
It's a good one. It's a good one. Hey, so Jeff, you live in Vegas. You're also a lawyer. We've been talking about the Gruden situation. Can you give us a little perspective, not only as a lawyer, but also someone living in Las Vegas, what it means?
Yeah, well, on a personal level, it's just really disappointing. When the first email came out on Friday, I was hoping that this was going to be like a one-off, a lapse in judgment. He apologized right away. But I did. You mentioned my wife, Kathy. I said to Kathy, boy, I don't know. When you're going down that road, it's awfully tough to come back from that now. And I followed Gruden. Like a lot of people, I like Gruden. I remember when he started with the Raiders and he was traded. A lot of people may not remember that. He was traded to Tampa Bay for some draft picks and about $8 million in cash, brought him a Super Bowl, and then went to Monday Night Football. I ended up being fired by Tampa Bay. And I followed him on Monday Night Football like most of us did. I thought he did a hell of a job. He certainly is a good football coach. I think he's got great analytical ability. And I even watched the other show he had, Gruden's QB camp, where he'd bring in, kids. I think most of them were seniors in college, top quarterback draft prospects, and run them through things on the board. So when this happened, just on a personal level, I was really disappointed. Like you mentioned, John, Kathy and I had lived here for 15 years before. He'd moved back east for 11 and then just came back last year in the middle of a pandemic. We missed Las Vegas. I wanted to start to slow down a little bit. We still have tremendous friends here and friendships that we've kept. So we came back almost a year ago. And I was really excited that the Raiders were here, that Gruden was at the helm. And like everybody else, I expected big things. And they started out so great, and Derek Carr, the way he was throwing the football, and Waller came into his own, and Crosby, and I got to know the players coming back here. And it took me back, Fish, to when I was in college at Niagara. I mean, I followed the Raiders back then. They were my team when Kenny Stabler was there. So I've followed the Raiders most of my adult life. And so for this to happen, especially at this stage of the season, and you guys are right. I heard you talking earlier as far as them playing the Bears on Sunday. I was curious how they might come out and how they would do. And they seemed like they were just off. Carr, missed a couple of throws that he normally, would make. They just didn't seem right. And then all of a sudden, this New York Times article about all these other emails, and I knew that was it. So last night, as you guys have talked about, Gruden issued a formal statement that he was resigning. And as you know, John, you and I have worked together. A resignation is a whole lot different from a legal standpoint than a termination. Typically, when you resign, there's no severance package negotiated. The legal obligations between the two parties, the employer and the employee, terminate unless there's a specific provision in the contract that survives the termination of the contract. So in a resignation, they have no further obligation to pay him. He has no further obligation to coach. The parties walk away. Now, that being said, also, as you guys have been talking about, I suspect that there's been a lot of pressure brought to bear by both the NFL as well as Mark Davis and other folks that this was a bridge way too far with these additional emails. And this was what had to happen. So now, that being said, whether or not there have been other negotiations between Gruden and Davis, even though they're terming it a resignation, you're talking about, a 10-year, $100 million contract. He's 4 years into it. I went and checked this morning. I mean, only Belichick and Pete Carroll at the Seahawks make more money on an annual basis than Gruden, number one. And number two, his contract, $100 million over 10 years, is the richest contract in terms of value in the history of the NFL for a coach. So, other than the no trade clause that apparently was in his agreement, and maybe that, stems from what happened to him when he was with the Raiders before. I don't know that anybody has seen it. It certainly hasn't been publicized. I'd love to see what's in the contract, and I suspect we'll find out shortly, if there were any other, agreements made in connection with the resignation. But the bottom line is, I'm just really disappointed, period, as a resident, as somebody that loves the Raiders, has followed the Raiders, and has followed Gruden.
Yeah, you have to win in this town. You've known it from being here. I've been here 30 years, and you have to win. And there's 30,000 Bear fans here. And if this team goes in the toilet right now, you're going to see, Raider fans always make fun of the Chargers because you go to a Charger game and it's 80% the other team. This could be the Chargers of the desert. And again, this situation is a microcosm, Jeff and John, of what's happened the last 18 years in this organization. And it kills a guy like me that grew up like you, watching this team and watching Stabler and LaMonica. It kills all my friends. It kills JT the Brick, a fan of the show that covers the team. I mean, we're passionate about our team. We're passionate about the Shield. And you just want good things to happen. There's good people. I think they're going to respond well. But I want to talk to you about your dad. Rest in peace. Your dad coached for one of my favorite college coaches in Ara Parseghian. Two things. Did you ever meet the great Ara Parseghian? And two, give me a story your dad. Well, give me a story your dad. Give me a story that your dad said about this guy, because I have just him now as a coach. What a great! Remember what a great announcer he was with Keith Jackson on ABC or Chris Finkel?
Oh yeah,
icon.
Oh, Kathy,
icon.
Era too. I'll tell you, Fish. First of all, when Kathy and I got married back in 1978, as a wedding gift, Era and his wife Katie, they owned a condominium down in Marco Island, and so their wedding gift to us was a week on them using their condo in Marco Island. That's, I mean, aside from being a hell of a coach, maybe even a better human being. But my dad and Era connected at Notre Dame. My dad was the head coach at John Carroll University in Cleveland. Don Shula went to school there. A lot of people probably know that. In 3 of the 5 years my dad was at John Carroll, they were undefeated. He set all kinds of small college records, some of which still stand today. He and Era, it's a little bit like the news business, John, with the conventions and what have you. They had crossed paths. Era had been the head coach at Northwestern. Era left Northwestern, goes to Notre Dame, and knew my dad from, running across one another from time to time, and knew that his real love was defense. And so he called him up and he asked him to leave John Carroll and go to Notre Dame. This is in '64, and run the defense. And so Era brought in my dad and a number of other assistants. A lot of people don't remember, in 1963, a guy named Huey DeVore was the head coach of Notre Dame, and they went 2-8. So Notre Dame Fish was down and in dire need of some success. And that first year they won 9-1, and they played John McKay in that last game, and they lost to USC out on the West Coast. And so they were that close to a national championship, but in '66, they did win the national championship. And so the first 3 years, my dad was the defensive coordinator, and then Era promoted him to assistant head coach the last 2 years. And then in '69, my dad got an offer to be the head coach at the University of Kentucky. And, my dad was cocky enough and had enough confidence where I think he felt Kentucky had always been known as a basketball school, but they were in a hell of a conference, the SEC conference, and playing Alabama and Auburn and LSU. And he felt, with some of the things they did at Notre Dame, he could take that with him to Kentucky and turn them around. And, they made some strides. His biggest victory was a win over Ole Miss. His first year there, Archie Manning was the quarterback. They were ranked, I think, 6th or 7th in the country, and they beat them 10-9. But unfortunately, the next 3 years, weren't so kind to my dad. And he moved on from Kentucky and became the defensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills, and was with the Bills from '73 to '77 when O.J. Simpson was there. And luckily, they had a lot of success. Lou Saban was the head coach. And you guys had talked about me playing basketball. I did. I went to high school down in Lexington, Kentucky, and was recruited by 3 or 4 SEC schools. But Kentucky also showed interest in me. And, when you're in Kentucky, and the University of Kentucky talks to you about playing basketball, there's only one place to go. And so I was really fortunate to have an opportunity to go to UK and play there my freshman year. I actually met one-on-one with Adolph Rupp, and he was the one, just he and I in his office, offered me a full ride, said, I want you to come play for us. But the next year, my freshman year, he stepped down and Joby Hall took over. So I never had an opportunity to play for Rupp. But I'll tell you, Fish, the one thing that I've always remembered from meeting with Adolph Rupp was when I went into his office and it was just the two of us. I looked around, and on every wall, from the bottom to the ceiling, there was either a picture or a plaque or something that covered almost every square inch. I mean, and it stuck with me to this day. Unbelievable, what that guy did for basketball. But, being at Kentucky, I was a good player. I wasn't a great player. I probably would have sat on the bench the next 3 years. So I transferred to Niagara University, and my dad was coaching the Bills at the time. And at that time, the Bills actually had their summer training camp at Niagara, which was about 35 miles outside of Buffalo. And I was working for the Erie County Recreation Department at the time, getting off at 4 o'clock and then coming back up during the summer and working out in the gym. Well, I timed it so that when the Bills players were coming off from their two-a-days, the second workout, a lot of the skilled position players like the quarterback, the running backs, the defensive backs, the receivers, a lot of those guys were terrific athletes and played basketball in high school and some even in college. They'd see me working out in the gym and knew me. So they'd come in and we'd pick up and we'd play for a long time. I didn't know how they had the energy after these two-a-days, but we played. And a lot of times OJ was on my team. So I got to know OJ Simpson really well. So you fast forward, John, when Kathy and I move out here the first time in '94, for her to take the job at Channel 13 to work with you, and this whole thing unfolds with, oh my God, OJ's in the Bronco and they're chasing him and they think he killed his wife. For me especially, because I knew him and Kathy knew him too a little bit, it was surreal.
Jeff, real quick, because we only got about 3 or 4 minutes left here with you. Give me your reactions or your relationship with OJ. Did you have much of one?
I mean, I'd see him at practice. We'd play basketball together. There were a couple of times where Kathy and I were out. We'd go into a restaurant in Buffalo where a lot of the Bills players would go, and we'd run into him, have a drink with him, talk to him. But no, I mean, he wasn't a friend. He was one of the players that played for my dad, and I really kind of knew him that way.
Clarify this for me.
But I guess he's back in Vegas now, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, clarify this rumor and validate it or not. Is it true that your dad, when he coached with the Bills, walked up to Ahmad Rashad and said, not only are you a great receiver and great looking, but you got a real future in television. And in the future, if I can pull out a crystal ball, you're going to take over for a guy named John Daly, and then the show's going to go in the toilet. Is that actually true? Did your dad coach him up? Come on, give me the scoop.
Yes, it could have happened. I don't know, man. It's possible. But I'll tell you what, he was one of my favorite players. My favorite player of all time is Marcus Allen. My favorite pro player of all time is Marcus Allen. And I've always followed USC. I could tell you guys a million stories. John, you probably don't know this. When Kathy and I first moved out here in '94, and then shortly after that, John Robinson, who had been the coach for 2 stints at USC, took over the head job at UNLV.
Yeah.
I called him up.
I remember.
And he knew my dad. And so I'm sure as a courtesy of my dad, I said, let me take you out to lunch. And it was one of the coolest experiences. Just John Robinson and I went to lunch here in Vegas for about an hour. And I'll tell you, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. And I was hoping, Fish, that John Robinson would be the guy to turn things around. But boy, we still struggle.
Jeff, we're losing you, Jeff. We're losing you.
Jeff, we're losing you a little bit there as far as your reception. We only got a few minutes left, and if we can't, we'll get you back on again. We can get your reception better. Talk about. Did we lose him completely?
We lost him. Yeah.
All right. Hey, Jeff. I tell you what, we're gonna say goodbye. We're gonna get you back on here, and hopefully we'll have some better connections. But I got to tell you, great stuff. We really appreciate you coming on, and we'll get you back on again, buddy.
Thanks.
All right. And that we were talking to Jeff Ray. He's a lawyer, Las Vegas resident. Again, a lot of sports perspective. He played hoops at Kentucky and Niagara. His dad was John Ray, who coached with Ara Parsegian, and Jeff is also married to my former Las Vegas news anchor, Kathy Ray at KTMV. We're going to have Kathy on the show maybe in a couple of weeks as well. So coming up, Fish and I are going to wrap things up here with this busy sports week. Plus, we're going to have our binge watching suggestions. We decided to push it to the back of the show because we had so much stuff to talk about at the beginning. And also, we're going to tell you about 2 series that are going to be on Netflix. But first, if you need a great golf getaway, the Myrtle Beach Golf Trail has dozens of courses along the Carolina coast. Set up an entire trip for yourself, your family, or a bunch of friends. The site is the myrtlebeachgolftrail.com. You can play there year-round. I got to tell you, I'm down here now. Golf is just incredible. The weather is spectacular. So myrtlebeachgolftrail.com. All right, Fish, before we go, let's give folks our binge watching suggestions like we normally do. Wanted to put them towards the back here. So, Fish, what are you binging on?
I finished it. I watched a show called Made, limited series on Netflix. Beautiful. It's a touching story about a young girl played by Margaret Qualley. She was in The Leftovers with a great show on HBO. She's actually Andie MacDowell's daughter, the great actress who's actually in the show. So she plays a kid that's emotionally abused by her boyfriend, and she leaves one night with the kid, and it's her story about how she lives in all these shelters and cleans houses, and she's actually a creative writer trying to get a scholarship, and that's all I'm going to say. Tear-jerking.
Yep, heard a lot of other people talk about it as well. All right, Fish, I'm binging Squid Game, on track to be the most popular show on Netflix. It's from South Korea, portrays people in financial straits to compete in deadly challenges to win riches. How popular is it? Well, it's actually affecting Halloween costumes and candy for this year. And just so you know, this is no comedy. It is very, very dark. I call it the Asian version of an Orwellian Halloween. It's not a lot of laughs. It's a lot of that type stuff. So anyway, it's called Squid Game, and it's on Netflix. So there are 2 binge watchings. Hey, Fish, we've got about maybe about 4 minutes left. Before we go, talk a little bit about the emotional side of sports. I mean, me with the Red Sox, you with the Raiders. We're analysts, but we're also fans. You're actually going through stuff with everything that's happening with the Raiders and
I used to work for him, and he's it's someone I knew when he was younger. Interviewed him, made him laugh. Fun guy, good guy. And there's a different side that came out. So I'm torn. I'm really torn. When this thing came out, I'm shell shocked today. It happened last night. It broke. I heard it getting a stress test. Then Adam Schefter goes on Monday Night Football. I don't think you've experienced this as being a Red Sox fan. It's tough right now because this team. I love the Raiders more than all the other teams that I like combined. There's something about this organization, and the Raider Nation is a tight unit. We're a cult, and now we're going through hard times again. There's a possibility, like I said during the show, that we might have to rebuild. And you're talking about a guy that just loves football, that messed up, took his career away, and I don't know where the team's going to go. I'm just hoping that the shield is bigger than what's going on right now, and these players rally around it. But I'm going through a tough time with this, and I think that right now, how I feel about this whole thing is that the Raider organization sometimes are these guys. The way it is. I love the people that work for the Raider organization. I love JT the Brick. I love because he's the voice of the face of that team. Davis is a really good man, a philanthropist. There's a lot of good things in that organization. Yeah. What they've done for this community, real quick, I'll let you finish out. Davis comes to Vegas. The first thing he does, gives $500,000 to the Clark County food bank for kids that can't get meals. He did that. He did it under the radar. So I'm really torn up about this. People say, "Get over it," this and that. If that's your team, and we're going through a hard time, and we're making fun. A lot of people love this. Chiefs fans, they all love what's going on. But I'll tell you something: when the Cowboys and the Raiders are good, the league is a better league.
Yep. No, I would agree. Now, as a Red Sox fan, up until 2003, we had clown car all the time because we were, either not getting anywhere near a World Series, and when we did, we botched it. So, I haven't felt that for a long time. Even though they've had a couple of bad years every now, but they've won 4 World Series in this century already. So I'm actually pretty good. So I got to tell you, even though I analyzed these games, my heart was pumping on Sunday and Monday because I didn't think they were going to win. I thought the Rays were a much better team, but needless to say, very excited about what's happening. And we'll find out more next week once they get into the series with the Astros.
You know what I could use? I look at my dog in the background. Molly's great. I could use that, but I could really use a kiss.
There you go.
I don't.
I'll give you a big smooch. All right, folks. Remember, Daily Fish is live from Vegas and Myrtle Beach. Catch us on Facebook at daily.fish.5, DBNA television on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and soon Apple TV. The DBNA television website is dbnatelevision.com. Plus, we're on YouTube and the Myrtle Beach Golf Channel. You can write to us at dailyfish1@gmail.com. Post to Facebook for us at daily.fish.5. All right, Fish. Another good week, man. It was a hectic, fun show, kind of all around the Gruden thing, and we were able to kind of move things around. But we had 2 of our guests, including you, with your analysis of what went on. So to me, it was a great show to really analyze what is happening, not only in sports but also what's happening in the whole Las Vegas Raiders situation.
Yeah, I feel like we were actually using our journalism backgrounds to bring in guests and talk about one subject, and a lot of good information came out. And we'll get through this. And next week, in 20 seconds, I think next week we're going to get the Valley Girls on and talk about a couple of iconic movies that were generational in the 80s, and Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Valley Girls. So, John, take us out.
All right. And that's going to be show 26. This is show 25. So, folks, thanks for being with us. We will see you next week. Again, 8 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific on Tuesday. We'll see you. Fish, have a good one, buddy. Nice job.
Hey, drop the puck, baby.